talk about wildflowers. Right now is an ideal time to plant them. There's a few other times of the year when it's also beneficial. Generally, the idea with wildflowers is that you toss them out and give them as little care as possible. That's the whole purpose of putting in wildflowers, right? So seeds of any kind generally need to have consistent moisture. Obviously, you don't really want to be out there with a hose every day, keeping the surface of the soil wet so that the seeds can germinate. So right now is great. Pretty soon our spring rains are going to kick in. If you get a few more snows. So this is actually ideal. Nature's going to do a lot of the work for you, and hopefully you'll do little or no supplemental watering. The cold actually, like I said, we will get some more cold spells before it's all over. Just a little bit, generally late February, March, sometimes April if we're having a late spring. You know, it'll get cold again. That's okay. Some of the seeds actually need to be cold. They need to go through a winter before germinating in spring, so that's good for them. That's our standing joke about California. Anything will grow in California. But here our climate is not always the most conducive, and especially our soil is not always the best. So you'll find that with a little bit of effort, just to get started, it will go a long, long way. You know, wildflower seed, if you just kind of take it and toss, some of it will come up. Some of it will land on rocky soil. Some of it will land where it's compacted, hard, just terrible. It's really, really hit and miss. So we're going to give you some tips to help get it started. Not too difficult, I hope, but just something to help get it started. Otherwise, you're throwing a lot of seed out there that's just not even going to make it. Only a percentage will actually make it. Some of you have acreage and you have to keep it as simple as possible, but still, a little effort does go a long way with wildflower. Just a little encouragement to get them going. We have several mixes. I didn't bring them all up here, but we have a number of mixes down there. We have birds and pollinator mixes. We have deer resistant, because here in Prescott, that's one of the wonderful things about living here in Prescott, why we're number one, is because we do have lots of nature. We have forests, we have wildlife, we have javelina. If you've never lived in Arizona before, you're probably wondering what that is. We've got some people watching us online pretty soon. They're going to be wondering, what's a javelina? Javelina is something in the pig family, a peccary if you want to be scientific about it. So it's basically, looks a lot like a wild boar, and they're native here, very hairy, funny looking creatures, and they love to eat everything. We also have a lot of deer, rabbits, every kind of rodent you can think of actually. You know, chipmunks, squirrels, you name it, we got it. And they all love to eat your garden. So the deer resistant mix has things that are resistant to not only deer, but other animals as well. The other one I'm holding up here is the Arizona native mix. So this is stuff that if you want to have things that have been growing here for generations, and they've been doing very well, this is a great mix. They actually have a lot of the same flowers just because drought-tolerant flowers often tend to be animal-resistant. They seem to go hand in hand for some reason, which is great, which is really great. And we also have very, very popular poppies, very popular in this area. Here in about, what is it, March, April? The poppies start coming up and they're just glorious, generally California poppies. These poppies are one of the flowers that do need to freeze. They not just be cold, but they actually need to freeze. It helps the shells are very, very hard, and they actually need to freeze and thaw in order to crack open that shell so it can germinate. So if it doesn't get cold enough, they just won't need to do anything. If you're afraid that you may have missed too many of your cold spells, what you can actually do is put them in the freezer a few times and trick them. Every now and then I get people coming in a little late in the season. It's already, you know, March or so, and they want to put in poppies, but they waited a bit long, and we don't know how we're really going to freeze anymore. So that's what you can do with some of these types of seeds that actually need to be cold. You can just put them in the freezer, take them out, put them back in. Some people have found that taking them out and putting them in multiple times rather than just letting them sit in there seems to help with the process. So basically choose your seed. You don't have to get a mix that specifically says drought tolerant. If it's being sold as wildflowers, it probably is. If in this area, at least the stuff we sell, they're generally good stuff for the area. Good, better, and best, really, as far as that goes. So things like the Arizona mix, the drought tolerant, the deer resistant. We have a birds and pollinator mix, which basically contains flowers that are attractive to the pollinators, such as butterflies and so on. And then after they're done pollinating, the flower turns into a seed head, which has plump seeds that birds like to eat. So it'll contain a lot of things like echinacea, salvia, or sage is a regular name for salvia. So it'll contain a lot of things that birds and pollinators both enjoy. So you can get a lot of birds and butterflies in your yard to be able to watch. It's called the birds and butterfly mix. We also have a hummingbird mix. Has a lot of the tubular flowers that hummingbirds like, so sages, penstemon, and so on. And then we do have the singles as well. If there's something specific you want to add to the mix, or just one or two things that you want to put in the yard, they do great actually. So milkweed right now is very, very popular. We do have several varieties of milkweed. A few years ago, awareness for the monarchs was on the rise, and so milkweed is a very popular demand right now. We do have, I don't remember how many varieties, but we have multiple varieties of the milkweed, including the native. This is the one you see growing around town. You actually get this from a local that grows these for us, along with a few other things. So this local grower takes care of these. So you'll see it doesn't look like the rest of our packets because she's packaging these herself. So it's in a little manila envelope and it says milkweed for the monarchs. This is the native milkweed that grows here. If you want that, so I mean it's going to do fabulous. You know it does. Most of the milkweeds are native to the Southwest in general. So they typically do prefer dry areas, but this one is the one that specifically is seen the most around here. So the first thing you want to do when you are ready to plant your seeds, go out and at the very least rake up the soil. You can kind of remove some of the rocks, but mostly you just want to loosen up the soil. If there's a thick gravel, you do want to remove that. So that the seeds need to come in contact with soil. That's very, very important. They need to be in contact with that soil or they will not germinate and root. So graveled areas, you want to remove that, remove that from the top, and then loosen up the soil underneath. We do have clay here. Generally, if you walk out, you'll see a layer of kind of loose stuff. It might be sandy or gravelly. It's got a lot of pine needles and other stuff in it. It's just very, very loose. But underneath, it's a very, very dense clay and very compacted. With a few exceptions of some sandy pockets, we generally have that real hard clay. So go ahead and just kind of rake it up, loosen it up so that the seeds can root into it without any trouble. We have seen things try to root and push themselves out of the ground instead of pushing the root in. So we've seen radishes, it got pretty interesting when that happened. So first you'll loosen up your soil, rake, rototill, whatever you want to do. Some people will go all the way. If you're willing to, you can. Just as if you were planting a plant that you bought in a pot and actually amend the soil with mulch. This is the mulch we're talking about here. Right here, the premium mulch. This is a compost specifically for amending soil, our wonderful Arizona soil here. That's what this is for. And you can actually mix that in to improve that soil and give them the best chance that they've got. Remember, in nature, flowers actually spread seeds by the thousands. Only a small percentage actually make it, even in the best conditions. So here you're going to be paying money for an amount of seed and tossing it out there, and which ones are going to make it. It's going to be the ones that fall in the ideal conditions. So you can help make those ideal conditions in more of the yard instead of just pockets and microplants. And then what you want to do, also while you're at it, rake in some fertilizer, like this one. This is our brand, the Water's All-Purpose Fertilizer. We actually make this specifically for our soil here. We know what our soil needs. There's lots of national brands out there that make fertilizers for people in general, usually for the East, where it's, you know, beautiful and perfect and acidic, rich in minerals. But here we know what our soil needs specifically, so that's what we made this for. And it's got everything that it lacks. Yes?
Question, you're referring to Prescott, you Valley. Is that going to be the same?
The question is, are we just referring to Prescott? No, Northern Arizona in general. So this is actually just natural stuff. When you open it up, you'll find that it just looks like different kinds of dirt, almost mixed together with a few, almost looks like seeds or something in there. It's just normal stuff. It's not synthetic chemicals that have been crystallized and granulated. So you just kind of take this, it's not concentrated because it's not a chemical. So it's something that you just grab by the handful and start tossing. Toss it like chicken feed and just kind of go out and salt and pepper the whole area. To give you kind of an idea of what the coverage should be, here on the front there are directions. And you can use this for everything, I mean literally everything. We just made it to contain everything our soil needs so it can support whatever you grow. You don't need 50 different fertilizers so that you have one for each plant. You don't need to do that. This has everything, so you just need one. So here it is. Flowers and vegetables is generally the one you're probably going to go by. And it will tell you how much per square feet. Where am I? I keep losing my place here. Oh, here we go. Well, approximately half a cup per 25 square feet, yes.
So you just toss it out or do you rake it in the soil?
Toss it out. It would be good to do it while you're raking and kind of rake it in, but it's something that it will work its way in. Rains will push it in, it will dissolve, it'll break down naturally, you know, as things eat it up. So it's, like I said, it's not a synthetic or anything. So this is also something that's good to put in. This right here is something that in the East and in places where they have wonderful soil, this stuff occurs naturally. Here we're kind of deficient in it. So this is something that you can add. This is just humic acid. Basically, if you're composting, you'll have different levels of compost. The very end result, when you get down to the really good stuff, that's what this is. And what that does is it kind of starts the cycle over again. It feeds the ecology in the soil, the microbes, the beneficial fungi, the things that make the soil live, that make the plants live and thrive. That's what this is. So this is something that you can buy and add to the soil. Just take that, break that in, or just spread it. And it will make a huge difference. It helps the root systems to become bigger, stronger, and deeper. Take up water and nutrients better. That's what that's going to do. Yes?
Could you read the name of that?
I think it's a soil activator. Because like I said, it activates the soil and the life in the soil. And you can use it on literally anything. Fields, lawns, trees, flowers, literally anything that grows. So you can put that in too. And then, now you get to the best part. You picked out your seed. You want to open up the bag and then mix this, throw it into your wheelbarrow, and mix it with some soil or mulch. A little goes a long way with the seed. Some of these are really tiny. If you look at some of these mixtures, some of the seeds are small, but some of them almost look like dust. A little really goes a long way with this stuff. And it's really easy to start spreading and then end up with all of it right in this little area here, and then there's not enough for the rest of the field. So you gotta watch out for that. It's hard to spread. And you can't really put it in a spreader because you have multiple sizes in there. So a lot of it will just run out in the wrong places. So the best thing to do is to mix it in with some soil or mulch, and that will help make it easier to spread. It'll take all of it and just dump it in there. And it's not an exact ratio, exactly. Usually a bag full or a wheelbarrow full will do it, unless you have a lot of acreage, but generally that's enough for pretty much anybody. Mulch, I find, does work best, simply because it's the darkest. This one right here. You can see where you put it. It's got a nice dark look, so it shows up against our kind of light colored, dry looking soil. So you can see where you've spread it so far. And it also helps, it helps with the germination. Helps make contact, helps hide from the birds. Yes?
Can you mix several of those packages together in the mulch?
Absolutely. You can mix several packages together. Make your own mix. You can buy, you can buy a few different packages. You can buy some of the singles, and you think, oh, this is a really good mix, but it doesn't have my favorite flower in there. I'm going to mix some of that in there. Make your own mix. That doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. Again, the exact ratio, there isn't an exact ratio between the seed and the mulch. Yes?
What is the shelf life of the seeds? If you don't use it all this year, can it be saved
Mhm.
later?
What is the shelf life on the seeds? Seeds are notorious for lasting a very long time. Yes, their germination rate does go down over time. When I say time, I do mean years. The germination rate does start to decrease. For example, you could take a pinch of the seeds and put them on a wet paper towel, fold the paper towel, and after a while they'll germinate, and you see how many of them germinated. You'll find that the percentage of germination goes down over the years. If you're not sure if it's still viable, do that with the paper towel and just keep it moist for a few days or a few weeks depending on the seed, and you can see how much viability it has. Generally anything that has, say, about 50% viability is actually considered good, really good. So yeah, but seeds do usually last a very long time. So, so there's never a time when you can't use it, where you just can't even toss it out. No, if you got it, throw it out, you may as well use it. So after you mix this into your mulch, just either with your hands or with a shovel, just start shoveling it out of the wheelbarrow and just kind of tossing it around. You want that to go in hopefully before rain or snow. Snows actually do great, hides it from the birds, gets nice and cold, and helps push it down against the soil so it's making good contact. Snow's great for wildflowers, it really is. So winter is an ideal time to do it. So December, January, February, ideal for putting down wildflowers. Some of them need to be sufficiently warm for some time before they will germinate, but those will wait longer. So the ones that like to bloom early, those are going to come up first. Other seeds will sit and wait until April or May, and those will come up later. So you should have color through most of your seasons, at least spring, summer, and fall, because they're going to be blooming at different times, growing at different times. And the second year, of course, it always comes back even better. The first year, some of the perennials will spend more time just growing, building up a root system, building up good foliage, and then the second year, they really put on the blooms. So don't be surprised if things will seem a little slow at first, but the second year always comes back better. Also, the annuals and the perennials that are very good at spreading seed, they will drop more seeds and increase the number of plants. So you'll see that increase on your second year. All of these mixes have both annuals and perennials are the one that the plant never dies. It goes dormant in the winter, and then it comes back in spring. It's the same plant. The annuals are the ones that they die in the winter, but by then they spread a lot of seeds to replace themselves with. The perennials, actually, some of them do both For example, the one I'm holding, I can see it's got Gaillardia in there. It's actually got a list on the back if you want to see what's in there. Gaillardia in there, alyssum, sages, coneflowers. Those are really good at reseeding. So columbine, that's actually native. You'll see growing in our woods here. So you'll see, like I said, second year is going to come back better. Let's see. What else have we? Yes.
What about shade?
Shade. If you have a lot of shady areas, we do have a shade mix. Generally what's considered shade in the case of wildflowers is trees. The trees, maybe you're up in the, in Prescott especially, and on the western side, you have a lot of ponderosa forest. And so if you're in that area, you might have a lot of shade, in which case you can grow the shade stuff. Now this actually has a mixture of both. A lot of this here that I'm seeing is sun, but columbine, larkspur, bee plant, liatris, those actually do really well in shade. So these mixes, they can handle both. The trees usually don't make it real dark. I've seen some dark areas in people's alcoves or under their porches, arbors, and they have to find deep shade plants for those areas. But under trees, it generally isn't that dim. So even some of the sun lovers will be very happy there. So you don't have to worry too much about, am I wasting a lot of seed because there's sun lovers in here? You're generally okay. In fact, forests are just great areas because it's got exactly the right amount of shade and sun to make all the flowers very, very happy. So don't worry too much about that, but if it is kind of dense, then go ahead, just get the shade mix. And it's just all shade lovers. Yes?
So we're new to the area, and all of our neighbors were telling me don't bother with any of this stuff because, as you said before, the javelina. So is that like a myth, this javelina? I've never seen one. I hear that, but or a coyote or whatever. I don't know what's out there, but I mean, is it worth it? I mean, even planting?
Yeah, she was saying that some of her neighbors have given up on trying to grow anything because of the javelina. Actually, if you just know what to plant, you'll fare much, much better. The javelina are surprisingly picky eaters. It's just that a lot of the common things that we like to plant, especially some of the annuals we like to put in, the javelina love those. So it's just a matter of being more careful with what you pick. You'll notice that we tend to lean more on perennials and certain types of perennials more than other garden centers. The run-of-the-mill stuff that you see at Walmart, that's stuff that they're going to eat. It just is. So we want to lean more on the things that they don't like that are still very, very pretty. It's just not the stuff that you were used to growing back in California that pretty much everybody grows in all 50 states. So we do have a lot of annuals. We do have a lot of, we do have some things that they will eat. Just put them up higher. In the case of javelina. For deer it won't work, but at least for javelina, just put them up higher. If there's something you love, put it in a hanging basket, put it up on a stand, put it behind a fenced area, somewhere where they can't get to it. And then for the rest of the yard, use stuff that just they don't like. Yes.
I'm noticing, we're also new to the area, and I'm noticing 12 or more quail, and they're just so busy on that little mound. Will they devour
The
that?
question was quail. Yeah. Part of that is helped by mixing it with the mulch. Even better, putting it about a 1/4 inch. You don't want too much, but 1/4 an inch of mulch over the top will help hide it. Hopefully they didn't watch you do it. Birds are smart, okay? Because then it won't work. A physical barrier may be necessary. Sometimes just putting a few layers of bird netting over the top of it so that they can't scratch and peck into it can make it difficult for them to steal your seed. Yes?
Is that city mulch? Is it appropriate, the free stuff they give down at the city?
Say it again?
It's mulch that they chop up and then you can get it free down at the dump.
Oh, okay. No. The question was, can I use city mulch? There's 2 reasons why I'm not going to recommend city mulch. One, I think, were you the one that just said it's too big? Somebody said,
It's
there you
large
are.
pieces.
Yeah, they're large pieces, so it's too big for this application anyway. As for other applications, as far as say using it to, hold in moisture and hold down weeds and things like that, no. It will cause more trouble than it's worth. Basically, what city mulch is when someone has to cut down a tree, usually because it's diseased or full of some kind of bad insect, the tree dies, they chop it down, and they have the city dump come in and put it through a wood chipper. And then they'll take it to the dump and they'll sell it, or just give it away for free a lot of the time. They'll just give it away for free, and that mulch contains all those diseased trees that, they died for a reason, okay? They died for a reason. And even though there may be some healthy trees in there, maybe they just wanted to remove it because it was in the way or whatever, the diseased trees have been mixed through it and the disease has spread all through it, okay? I had one lady come in, she had planted a whole orchard. And this was her dream project. She had put so much work and expense into this orchard, beautiful orchard, and she went down and got city mulch. Whole orchard got blight. Ruined it. So when I say no, that's why.
It's tempting.
I know, it's so tempting because it's, you want to do things inexpensively, do things smartly, but that's just not the way to go.
What about for pathways?
For pathways, again, do you have trees nearby? It can go, because diseases, the question was, can I put the mulch on pathways? The disease will go into the soil and they travel through the soil and get into the root. They're not airborne diseases, they're soil-borne. So as soon as that stuff starts coming into contact with soil, you're in trouble. So just stay away from it. All right, if you say have a neighbor that cut down a tree and you know why he cut down the tree, you know it was fairly safe, ask him, can I have that? I'll use it, but as for city mulch, just no, please. So this mulch, I should have brought it up. Actually, I did. Give me just a sec. Just a sec.
From the front side of the house, it's on the porch, being the house. So it's summertime.
I wanted to show you what the mulch looked like. Okay. I've got an open bag over there. So you can see this is not like city mulch, or this isn't the kind of stuff you use for top dressing. We do sell cedar bark as a top dressing mulch. This is a different kind of mulch. I know it can be confusing. The word mulch actually applies to a lot of different things. It's just a very generic word. It can refer to gravel, it can refer to bark, it can refer to compost, it can refer to a lot of things. So it's a confusing term. This here is actually compost. So you can see it's very small, fine, almost looks like soil. Okay, so this is for amending soil. You can also top dress with it. It will help with keeping in moisture. You can see again, it's got a nice dark look. When it's wet, it's even darker. So it's that makes it easy to see when you put it on the soil. So this is the stuff that you would actually be mixing the seed with. Something chunky wouldn't work very well to mix seed with. So it's okay, we're a garden center, we can have dirt anywhere. Let's see, any more questions? Yes.
Is it, I guess, indirectly, but is it too late to put in a winter feeding?
Is it too late to put in a winter feeding? Actually, you're right on time. Usually about February is when we do one of our feedings. Now, of course, this is going to vary with the type of fertilizer that you're using, but even with some of the national fertilizers, February is often the time we kind of get started. This right here, you use 4 times a year. So one for each season, winter, spring, summer, and fall. So this is the time when we're going to put on fertilizer. And what that does is it makes sure that enough nutrients and nitrogen are available to all the plants that are about to flush out new growth. There are a lot of plants and trees that are on the verge of putting out thousands of leaves all at once. So they're going to be using a lot of energy. Some of them are already showing their leaf buds starting to pop out. So we're right there. So right now, yes, great time to feed. This is actually ideal. Yes. When should sulfur be applied? Actually, it can be applied any time. Again, now is a great time. Sulfur, for those of you, I didn't mention it too, sulfur is something we use to acidify our soil. And while I'm on that topic, I may as well point something else out. The question I always get from newcomers is, should I put lime into my soil because I have pine trees? Because in the East, they're always telling you, pine trees will make your soil acidic, and it'll make it overly acidic, so you need to make it more alkaline. And that doesn't happen here. Our soil is so alkaline, the pine trees actually don't even make a dent. The pine needles actually break down very, very, very slowly. They don't really release much of anything into the soil. And here, honestly, anything you do will only make a dent in our pH at best. It is ridiculously alkaline here. I don't know why I'm stumbling so much today. Our soil pH generally runs anywhere between 7.0 and 10. Okay? Remember, you want to be in the 6s. Most things want to be in the 6s with a few exceptions that like to be even lower. But most things actually want to be in the 6s, about mid-6s is absolutely ideal. So anywhere between 7.0 and 10 is not ideal. When the pH in the soil is too high, it prevents the roots from being able to take up nutrients. And so you'll see signs of malnutrition in the plants. You'll see greens fading to yellow. You'll see fall color not kicking in. You'll see maples especially will tell you when you're deficient in nutrients because they don't turn red in the fall. They just go straight to brown. So you'll see these problems in your plants. It's because of a lack of nutrition. And maybe you are fertilizing. Maybe you're using the right fertilizer and yet you're still not seeing the results that you should. Color is not coming in as vibrant as they should. Pink flowers, for example, will just fade out to white. They will. It all comes down to that pH. So you just toss out some sulfur and that will bring that pH down. Yes?
What do you do at the end of the blooming season? Like we had poppies and primrose and,
Thank you for reminding me.
yeah.
What do you do at the end of the blooming season? And that kind of depends. If the field looks bloomed out, you may choose to mow it just because, the flower heads, they turn brown and black and they look ugly and you may as well mow it down. Some of you, however, are gardening for the birds. In your case, leave it because those seed heads are what the birds are eating. That's what's attracting those desirable birds into your fields for you to watch. So unless you're gardening for the birds, you can go out and mow it or weed whack it or whatever. Whenever it starts looking kind of gangly, and generally there's a couple times a year where not a whole lot is blooming, and that's what it looks like.
So if we're deadhead plants,
Yes.
to this question, does it make sense then to are they seeding the whole time? Because I'm taking buds off all the time. But should we just leave the blossoms at the end of the season so that
Yeah. It is actually better if you. Now, everybody's a little different with their wildflowers. I should be more specific here. For some of you, you've got a 10 by 10 spot next to the house, and that's where you put your wildflowers. And it's up close to the house, you really want it to look pristine, so you mow it. And a lot of it is perennial, so you don't have to worry about not spreading the seed. So it's okay if you go ahead and whack them down, because they're going to keep coming back because of their being perennial. On the other hand, if you have that acreage, or you just have a large area that doesn't need to be perfectly deadheaded, it is actually better, as he was pointing out, to leave the seed heads on because those seeds, what doesn't get eaten by the birds, will drop and grow more plants. So that is better, yes, to leave them on if you can.
So what looks like a weed in my yard, it's tall and it's dead, don't pull it out, cut it down.
Basically, If it's right now, go ahead and cut it down. She was asking, so I shouldn't, it's looking ugly, I want to get rid of it, but should I leave it? If the seeds have already dropped, then it's okay to mow it down, okay?
But don't pull. In California, we pulled all those weeds out.
If it's a desirable weed, which is what we call wildflower, don't pull it, just cut it. You can cut it back to the ground, but don't pull the roots out, because it may be perennial if you don't know what it is. As for deadheading, you know, if it's tolerable, go ahead, let the seed head stay there until all the seeds finish dropping, and then go ahead and mow it. So, let's see, any other questions?
What's the watering frequency for planting in the winter?
What is the watering frequency for planting in the winter? Generally every couple of weeks for established plants. Now for your wildflowers, to get them germinated, you may have to water every day if you're not getting rain, which is why it's best to do it either in spring or during monsoon or during the fall so that it gets the winter snow. Once they're rooted, then of course they become very drought tolerant and they need little or no water at all. Yes?
I live in a,
Mountain Club? Okay.
so I have a natural
Water
spring
source? Okay.
coming through my front yard.
Mm-hmm.
And I have wildflowers that come up every year, but they're kind of stagnant. I want to add to them. My problem is, if I'm to seed now, my ground is really moist. Is that going to be a problem?
Well, the seeds like it moist. It's not until they become established that it becomes a problem. If it's moist all year round, it's always wet, then back up a little further. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, yeah, the seeds need to be consistently moist in order to germinate.
Oh, I have tomatoes. I was just cutting. I went out to do some work in my front yard, and I noticed my javelinas have been doing mud baths in my front yard. They dug up dirt enough that it came to mud, and they've been taking baths.
Okay. I knew chickens did that. Bathe in dirt. All right. Any more questions? Yes.
What about once you trim them or the wildflowers are done for the season, what do you need to do to keep the soil good for the next season, the next year? So the weeds
Good question. What do you do after the flowers are done for the season? What do you do to keep them going really good for the next season? Well, just like anything else in your landscape, there are things that you can do to improve their chances of survival, and not just surviving, but thriving and blooming well. Fertilizing, putting down just again a thin layer of mulch on top of the ground to add organics to the soil because it's dead. Using the humic acid, all the stuff that you use for the prep, you can actually do this on a regular basis if you so choose. Again, some of you have a 10 by 10 and some of you have 40 acres, so kind of depends. But do as much as you're willing or able to do. All of these will really help improve the soil so that the wildflowers will do their best.
And the weeds in between them.
And the weeds in between them? Well, hopefully they're not so ugly that the flowers can't disguise them. Otherwise, you're just going to have to go in there and pull them. All right. I think that's about it. I'm still.